welcome to another episode of the Tell Not Show. It is episode 6. Very excited to be here today. As always, we're your hosts, Julia J.K. Allen and Kirsha Fox. Kirsha Fox is author of newly released Son of Deception. She's a homeschooling mother of 4, reader, and gamer.
And this is Julia J.K. Allen. She's an editor, author, and author coach. She's having fun working on some new writing projects this year.
Yeah, new year means new writing projects. It's so exciting. Yeah. I have been really bad on my end working on my own personal projects. So I finally got a lull in the editing job. So I'm like jumping on the opportunity to do some actual writing. But we're very excited to welcome our guest today, author Madilynn Dale.
Yes, Madilynn Dale is an author, blogger, freelancer, reader, mother, outdoors enthusiast, wine lover, and all-over creative. She's been a host for several other shows featured under the Go Indie Now's white umbrella. She hosts a podcast channel of her own. She loves to travel. Madilynn enjoys meeting and talking with other creatives from all areas of the publishing field. And she loves letting her viewers see the authentic side of each one of them. And I love that because that's exactly what we're trying to do here. Madilynn is an Oklahoma author and holds several different degrees. She has a bachelor's degree in kinesiology with an associate's degree in physical therapy, assistant sciences. Her creativity stems from something deep within, and though her bond with the creative flow brings her stories to life. She's never envisioned herself as a writer, but she took a leap of faith while pregnant, 5 years ago now, and began a new journey. She enjoyed writing short stories as a kid and has been an avid reader ever since grade school. Madilynn's hobbies when not writing include reading, baking, crafting, hiking, playing with her son, caring for her rescue pets, and horseback riding. She loves to travel and explore. One day she hopes to expand her travels and see the world, but in the meantime, you'll see her working on her next novel. We're so excited to have you today, Madilynn.
Thanks for inviting me. This is exciting.
Yes, we love everyone at the Go Indie Now Network. So we were so happy when you reached out to us and said you wanted to be on our show. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you write.
So I don't know if you guys can see the graphic behind me, the listeners, but I write a mix of fantasy, paranormal, and romance. Blue Flames, if I can lean to the right side right here, is coming out the end of January 31st. So that's going to be my latest piece. It features a very strong female character who's kind of had to take this coming of age journey to take back her power. So that kind of like, it pulled all the genres I just mentioned into her story. And it's very, I feel like it really fits my little cup of tea of like everything I write. So
yeah. That sounds fabulous. So that's super exciting. Congratulations on a new book coming out. Is this like the second in a series or?
Yes. So this will be the second book in the trilogy, and book 3, which I have not revealed the title for or the cover for yet, will be out later this year. So.
Oh, that's super exciting. Yeah. So you said that, you've always been like an avid reader and all of that, but you didn't really start your writing journey until you were pregnant. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that story?
Absolutely. So when I was pregnant, I was put on bed rest for a little bit, about a month and a half or so, I think. And before that, I was constantly on my feet working as a physical therapy assistant in a skilled nursing facility. And it kind of like gave me more time on my hands. So not only was I like breezing through every book I picked up, but I wanted to incorporate something a little bit different. And in my childhood, I had a lot of fun just like making kind of like drawing out pictures and writing a story with it. So it's like, you know what the heck? Let's take a chance, write something and see where this takes me and maybe venture into the publishing world. It was kind of almost like once I started that, my world kind of began to like shift. I had a job change in there and then kind of started shifting my focus more to like books and writing. And I tried to do traditional publishing first, but I didn't research a whole lot into that. Didn't get an agent or anything. So that was kind of like a fail. And then somebody suggested indie publishing. And then I got encouragement from an author friend of mine. She's like, just go for it. Like, try it, see where it takes you. And here I am, never turning back. My entire world shifted from like healthcare to here I am as an author and host and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, holy cow, who was I in the past? Like, why didn't I do this earlier?
Right.
But, and then also too, I want to have something for my son to look back on, like later, way later in life. Like if I'm not around or something, he can pull up and find my books and be like, my mom did that. So
right. Yeah. No, I love kind of that as writers we get to leave a little bit of ourselves behind as our legacy and have that to share with people for sure.
Yeah, I totally get it. I was a massage therapist for like 15 years. And so like it's been a big world change.
And honestly, sometimes I feel like it's for the better because like dealing with people in the book world is not as stressful or like sensitive, so to speak, as like in the field I was in before, because that working in a skilled nursing facility, it's the geriatric population. And I had a rough few months right after graduation and license stuff. I actually had my first experience at providing CPR, which scarred me for life because everybody's like, oh, we've never had to do that. And one of the people that was there had been there for 16 plus years. Like, I've never had to do that my entire career here. And here I am, new graduate, like only had my license for 3 months and I have to do it. I was just like, yep, I don't know. And then just like seeing them age out and like, it was just heartbreaking. So shifting gears, like not being part of that anymore. My mental health has also improved. So
and I feel there's something so nurturing about creative fields as far as like your inner world is so enriched and you have that like refresh and recharge that you don't always get at 9 to 5 or your standard job for sure.
Definitely.
And I can imagine like working with because you did like physical therapy and stuff too, so you're not working with people at their best, and so like that can be stressful, just dealing with like grumpy people and all that.
Yes, I cannot tell you how many times I've been cussed out by older people. It's like, you just gotta like, it's almost like it kind of, I don't know, like dulled my senses to it and just let it come in one ear and the other. Like, yep, we're still gonna do this. Like, you're still getting up and we're walking today.
Right.
Because the whole way down, and I'm just like, yep, you're doing
great. Oh goodness. Yeah, I'm sure after a while you do get a little desensitized to that. So you were saying you kind of do like a blend of different genres, like with the paranormal, the fantasy, and the romance. So tell us a little bit about that and like why you chose to write the genres you did.
So when I started out, I kind of did, which you can see this side. The Space Shifters Omnibus is more like YA kind of romance stuff and adventure. That one was very heavily influenced off of my experience as a physical therapy assistant, but it ties in a lot of like growth and romance and just a bunch of paranormal beings. I like bringing in fun beings that like a lot of people don't see a lot. Which, I mean, they all kind of fall into the shifters realm, but I bring in other beings like I've got fae, dragons, demons. Oh my gosh. There's one that I had to do a lot of research on that a lot of people have not heard about called the Kushtaka. That's a kind of like an otter man is basically another name for it. But that kind of stems out of the native tribes in Alaska. It's one of theirs. And then like skinwalkers. I just kind of like, they both fall into like almost like paranormal and shifters. It's crazy. Because then you've got like the ghost and the spirits that come into. So it's just, they all make an appearance in the worlds I create because it's just like, I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. But like romance also finds its way in there because having a strong female character, I feel like there's always a way to find love in life.
Right.
Even if it's not the same like I don't know, like, I'm gonna marry you kind of stuff. Like, they find love with friends and, like,
Right.
other, like, new family members. Like, my
Mhm.
face shifters, she discovers she's not an only child, that she's got a half sister, and there's this whole world of her family that she didn't know. It's also a little bit chaotic. So,
Well, I find families are very complicated in real life, so very relatable to have that in
yes,
your
and that
stories as
one,
well.
and actually, I feel like I did that in both of my series because,
Mm.
like, Ember's series, her mother had a one night stand with Lucifer, and that's how she was created.
Oh,
Her
okay. Yeah,
family
yeah.
kept this secret this entire time, and her siblings, and like, they don't know about it, but her not bio dad and her mom, they've kept the secret their entire lives. And everybody's like, why is she so different? Why is she not
Right.
shifting yet? And like, here it comes. Demons enter the picture, and she's down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so Kirsha actually writes similar as far as like having lots of different elements in her world.
Yes, I'm listening to you talk. I'm like, yep, check, check, check. Like
Yes.
that's very
And
much
it's
kind of
so
deception with the
fun.
angels, the demons, the fae, the
Mhm.
shifters. Yeah. It's
Yes. You can do a lot with them, honestly.
Mhm.
It just, you
It
can go
makes
so
for a
many
very
different
good
directions.
world.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. And I feel like it
Mhm.
almost, I don't know, for me, if we actually lived in a magical world like that, they would all be there. So,
Yeah, I imagine you had to do quite a lot of research to properly represent those more native tales
I
too, right?
did. And it helps too, because being in Oklahoma, there is a lot of Native Americans here. Some of my best friends, actually, majority of my best friends are Native American, so they've got
Mhm.
some histories and stuff. And it's been a lot of fun to just like dive into that and explore it more. And then like the whole creature from Alaska thing, I actually, one of the girls I played softball with, her husband is a native from there, and that's where I got that like inspiration, and it just seemed to like click and make the story come together. So
Mhm.
I
Right.
did pull up because I wanted to make sure I was describing them right and like putting the actual details into it. So I did actually do some research on that, which a lot of that is really hard. Um,
Mm.
a lot of Native American like history is not online as much
Right.
as you would
Right.
think. I was kind of bummed that it wasn't. So
It's a nice way of sharing stories we're not familiar with, for sure.
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. So, what does your writing process look like then, from start to finish?
man, it's a little chaotic. As you guys, as I mentioned earlier, I have a fixing to be 5-year old. So right now it's actually a little more organized than it has been since he was born.
Oh, I
He
bet.
is in half a day of pre-K, so I have like this little chunk of time during the day where I'm like, okay, this is going to be my focus of work time. And a lot of times I don't get to write during that period, um,
Mhm.
but it's either that or late at night. Um, Sometimes my creativity for writing does not kick in until like 10 o'clock at night. Um, so I just kind of, when I can in the evenings after I get him to bed, I'll grab my laptop most of the time and just go
Mhm.
hide out in my bedroom on the other side of the house and start typing.
Mhm.
If I can get away with it, I'll come like where I'm in my office room right now, which is new as well. I didn't get this room until like right before Christmas, which shares the playroom, but I can sometimes he'll let me if I'm feeling that creative flow, that spark really like urge me to get some writing done. I can come sit over here while he plays or I have cartoons going and just go for it. But it's really not a super set time right now.
Right.
I absolutely know where you're coming from. Everyone's like, "Oh, how do you find time to write?" And you're like, "You just do. You
Yeah. And
every minute you
sometimes
can."
like I'll do it on my phone if it's really
Mhm.
like if I can't get to a computer. I've got the which I go back and forth between Microsoft Word and Google Docs using the
Oh,
Good
yeah.
manuscript because I've got both of them synced up where they'll go to all of my devices. And I'm like, you know what? If I can't get in here and I really need to put this idea down, I just pull it up on my phone.
Yeah.
Great
It's
idea.
yeah. Distractions happen more though with the phone.
If you don't write it down right now, it's gone. Like it's
yes.
I know, that's a lie. We always tell ourselves like, "Oh, this is an awesome idea. I'll remember." I never remember.
Yes,
and I get write it down.
so mad when I do that because I'm like, what was it? I know I needed it. Like,
although writing it down doesn't always help, because like one time I was like sleeping and I woke up and I had this great idea from a dream, and I went to like go take notes on my phone, and I was so excited when I woke up in the morning and I read the notes and I'm like, this doesn't make sense. Like, this is gibberish. I was so shocked. I was so shocked by what my like sleep brain had written. I was just like I used a name that was like made sense in my dream. It was called that in my dream, and I was just like, I don't know what this means. Like, awake though.
Yes.
So it was just like, that note didn't help me out. So
no.
Yeah, that was a bummer. But ideas, we keep going even when we lose a couple good ones.
Yep. They never. I feel like this, like the flow of different ideas never stops, because I have a list of projects and ideas that I want to work on, and I'm like, I don't have enough time to get these all out like I want. Just crazy.
I know. It can be kind of a struggle as a writer, because you have so many ideas but only a finite amount of time to work on them. So like picking the ideas can be kind of like picking your favorite child. It always hurts a little, doesn't it?
Yes. It was like, oh, I really want to go work on this idea, but I'm like, I need to finish this series.
I know. Yeah. Obligations. Yes. So what have been some things that you've overcome as an author?
So I mentioned a little bit earlier my mental health. I've come a long ways from where I started with my mental health. During pregnancy, I was really run down and burnt out from working in the health field. So I wasn't like in the best place. So actually bed rest, I was kind of like, yeah, I get to sleep a lot. Then I was like, yeah, okay, I'm bored, out of my mind. But when I went back to work, after I had my son, I struggled a lot with postpartum depression, anxiety, and just a lot of like, what am I doing in life? I was really lost. So like writing and my journey as an author, I feel like I'm finally like starting to come around and get control of my mental health. Since then, I've like developed better self-care methods, and that's one of the things I make sure to ask when I chat with authors, is what their self-care methods are, because it's important. I went from a really low spot with my postpartum to like here I am now. I am on like anxiety medicine, and I discovered I have adult ADHD, and I'm on medicine for that. And like getting to that point where I could actually reach out to help was hard.
Right.
But it's been life-changing. So, and even like, I don't know, I look back, because in high school, I was a very high-functioning, like anxiety person. I was constantly going and doing everything. Like, I have no idea how the heck I managed it, how I slept. Because now I can't do it, but and probably age is probably a part of that, like we all reach that spot. But I'm just like, I've come a long ways just with my mental health from there. I'm not struggling to get up every day and like go about and do all the things that I'm required to do, or my responsibilities. Like now I'm actually looking forward to that. I'm happy. And part of that has been me starting this creative journey. So, did that answer that well?
Yeah, no, I think I think both of us can relate. Like I am always like a mental health advocate, and I love that you ask people about their self-care, because it's not something that we are trained in our society to focus on. Like it's always like, what can we do? Like what more can we do? Not like how can we reset and recharge? And I know medication's not for everyone, but for me, I had the same experience where it was life-changing. Like I definitely say like I'm alive today because of medications, both for my mental and my physical health. And so it's important that we talk about it though, because there is such a stigma still, I feel, around mental health in general and medications or different treatments, coping strategies, things like that. And I feel like the more that people talk about it, the more people are getting help. You know what I mean? Like, as far as like, even among my friend circle or like people on my Facebook, I see more people like just being honest and vulnerable online about like what they're going through. And then other people are like, oh my gosh, this is what works for me, or I feel the same. And it's like, because writing and, you know, having mental health struggles can be so isolating, right? You feel like you're alone and like you're the only one going through this, and everyone else has got it figured out. And so it's just like, I love that about our society today, as opposed to even 10 years ago, where people are willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah. Because that was like you said, the past, like we were almost, I feel like, kind of taught not to talk about it, not to ask.
Right. It was deferred. Yeah.
Not to even tell anybody that you're taking medication for it. Like, it was so taboo. And like things like I'm not going to say names, but like the recent things that's happened in the author world, some of that stuff probably wouldn't have happened had our world not been a better place with mental health, like awareness, care, and just talking about it. Because like, there are more of us out there that are willing to talk to you if you're in a bad place. And you just have to like find that strength to reach out and ask.
Yeah, that has been chaotic. What's happened in the book world?
Yes, it has. And I'm like, we had a conversation about it briefly in a not live situation about it for now. And like, because I didn't know about it until somebody's like, yeah, did you guys see that? I was like, wait, what? Like, I've got to look this up now. Like, what? Who? What?
Right. So, well, I remember when the incident had supposedly happened, and how like heartbroken and everything everyone was. And a lot of people were like, oh, I wish I could have reached out, or, you know, and I've had similar situations where I've lost people. And it's just like, oh, it's heartbreaking, because you think like, I wish I could have done something or said something and helped out. And then while just psych, I'm back, you know, a couple years later, and
that's awkward.
It's a wild time.
I feel like our society definitely prizes like productivity above everything else. You're supposed to sacrifice everything, and you have no value unless you're productive.
Like it's like you get a trophy for the least amount of hours you sleep and how run down you are. Like that was something I was like, I can't. That's not okay. Like this, I'm not okay with feeling like this and being exhausted all the time and just going to work and coming home to go back and do that again. Like, I want to enjoy living. So
I feel like our generation and the younger generations especially has struggled with this, where it was just like, we used to brag about how burned out we would be. Like, I'm on the verge of a mental breakdown because I'm doing so much. And it was just like always, but the focus was not like, oh, what are you doing to like rest and recover? It was like, oh, you go girl, like girl boss, you know, we encouraged each other to be like on the edge, you know.
Dude, no, I was working full time, and then I was still seeking to go work more, like on top of what I was already working, termed PRN work. And I was like, now looking back at that with having a kid and everything, I'm like, I don't know. No, that was insane. Like, I don't have time for that. So
mothers have it on both ends, because they're expected to like keep the home and take care of the kids as if they don't have a job, but they're also expected to like, you know, work and, you know, all that stuff on top of it. And it can be a lot.
The study and juggling, for sure.
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, multitask. Your brain does not sleep even when you sleep. It's just like,
Right. That's why I was saying earlier, with creative endeavors, I feel like it's so important to not just like rest your body and your mind, but you have to like also recharge that like inner world that you have inside. And being creative and stuff is really like intuitive to that. And I wish that we didn't, like, we're such a you have to be productive society, that I wish it wasn't like I wish more people just pursued the arts.
Yes.
Or the fact that like it makes your soul sing. You know what I mean? Rather than like you have to be good at singing to sing, you have to be good at dancing to dance, you have to be good at writing to write. It's like I just wish everyone could just like bumble along and like just enjoy things without worrying about being an expert at everything.
For real. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so moving along. So the show is geared towards like newer writers. So we were going to ask you about character development. What do you feel makes a good relatable character, and why is it important for them to be relatable as opposed to like ideal?
So I actually recently wrote a blog post talking about character creation. And if you guys want to check out that blog post, you can go to my website, thechaptergoddess.com. But characters are extremely important for any work of fiction. You want to, I kind of have a process that I go for. I get that original story idea, and then I go and start making characters. And this is something I've learned along the way, and I highly recommend, like, when you're starting out, to do this. Like, keep track of your characters. You want to know what they're going to look like their physical appearance, their personality traits. Since I write in fantasy, like magical abilities, shifting abilities, you want to put that in there. I put all of that into an Excel document before I write. And then, like, I'm going to use my main character, for example. So just for any work. So you want them to start out. I'm one of those authors. I do not go for the typical like A-line kind of person. I like to throw in stuff that we were taught as younger women that were not attractive kind of things. Like a weird dimple, or like we're curvy, we're not super fit, our hair is crazy, stuff like that, like little bitty tidbits like that, to kind of give our readers almost like a little dose of like, hey, this could be a real person like you see on the street. Because if you think about it, we've all got weird quirks. We all look different. We all have things we don't like about ourselves. And especially like my generation was the whole like, we're going to starve ourselves kind of thing.
Right.
Just to be skinny. And I'm like, I don't want to create super skinny, super attractive characters. Like even my side characters, like the guys in the stories, are rough looking. Like they're not super clean shaven. They don't have the perfect 5 o'clock shadow. Like that's impossible to like maintain in real life. Sorry, my accent is totally bleeding through.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I also give them realistic traits where they can experience growth. So like I'm going to use Liz in my face shifters here. I mentioned earlier that I based her off of like a physical therapy assistant, my stuff. She was super burnt out. She sucked at like finding ways to rest and recover and stuff. So she, at the beginning of the book, is talking about like her kind of like adventure into trying yoga and stuff. But she is also thrown things left and right as the story progresses. So she has to learn the best ways to take care of herself mentally and physically. So she's got all these responsibilities heaped on her shoulders, but she's got to find a way to like function enough to be able to handle it. So I like to tie in bits like that into my characters, but I always leave room for the characters to grow because readers like to see growth in characters. Hope that covered it. Maybe a little too much. So.
No, I always get really annoyed when there's like flaws. The character has flaws that aren't really flaws, because like flaws should be like actively impeding the character from getting their story goal, right? Because otherwise, like, why are we reading if you like you know they're gonna win and beat the bad guy and get what they want and be the best at everything? It's like I don't need to read 200 pages of them like winning like, over everyone.
And with Ember, she actually has to come to terms with making the decision about who is supposed to live and who's supposed to die, kind of stuff, because her position, she finds out kind of like, putting two and two together, she's Lucifer's daughter, so she's like princess of hell, and in her position, she has to make a lot of like hard decisions, and she's never had to do that. Even being raised to be Luna of her pack, because they thought she was just a shifter. She never had to deal with any of that stuff. Like, she kind of is given the position to judge others.
Okay.
But does not exactly like it because it hurts. Like, emotionally, because in the process she loses a lot of people. But she can't stop it from happening.
Right. I feel like this is a good segue into our next topic. You said one of your strengths was writing internal conflict. So let's talk about internal conflict in general. Like, obviously, how does it differ from other conflicts in your stories?
So with my characters, a lot of my work I write in first person. So you get to see a lot of what goes on in that specific character's head. Where the Face Shifter series, this side, is told in multiple points of view. The Ember series, I feel like she has more internal conflict going on than they did in the Face Shifters. With Ember, she's grown up thinking she is a shifter, that she's latent, but she's supposed to have all these powers. And then she comes into contact with her first demon, soaks up the hellfire that it's in, and her whole world is like turned upside down. One of the things I use to really point out her struggle is her wine drinking. Like, she literally sits at the table and stares at a bottle of wine, trying to determine if she wants to just try to drown the pain or try to work through it, because she knows if she drinks all of that wine, she's going to hate herself tomorrow when they go out on this mission. But if she processes it and doesn't drink it, she might actually be better off. And it just kind of like, she volleys that information in her brain back and forth for like a solid 20-30 minutes before she's like, you know what? Stands up and just like walks out of the room. So it's a little more active than that, but that's like the basis of it. Too many spoilers.
Yeah. I really love those moments when our characters are having to judge between what is right and maybe what's less right. Sometimes it's not so easy as good and bad. It's what's right for me. What kind of person do I want to be now?
Yeah.
That really show and not tell what their growth is, what their arc is. They're becoming who they're supposed to become. Or sometimes they get it wrong the first few times around, and they have to overcome that.
Yeah. So, but that's part of growth in life, and even with the characters. So
absolutely. I love when they make a mistake and then you have the opportunity to explore how they can grow from that as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But so internal conflict and all conflicts is really important to a story. And so one thing that we do as authors is we create states for our characters. But why is that so important that we're like driving the conflict internally, externally?
I feel a lot of it like that is one of the best ways to show growth with them, because if you don't present a problem that the character has to work through, they're not going to really change. They're not going to learn anything from that. So I mean, sometimes we go a little over the top, like you have to save the world kind of stuff. But like, I feel like that makes it more fun and adventure-like, especially for readers. Because I mean, if you pick up a book and it's just like, oh, I have this problem at school and like I have to figure out how to solve this, that's gonna be kind of boring. So I mean, having fun, like kind of like issues they have to work through, is really invigorating and pulls you into the story. So
one of my favorite quotes ever is a problem your character can walk away from is a book your reader is going to walk away from.
Oh, very good quote. Yeah. That makes sense.
It has to matter, or why are we even bothering with this person and their story?
Right. Yeah, because that's the difference between like a story and a vignette, right? We're not studying character. We're not studying a moment. We're not studying one thing. We're studying a story where conflict is a must.
Yes. And it's fun to get lost in those, escape from reality for a little bit and travel to a different place in your mind.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And also, like, it helps, like, readers to, like, process things that they've been through too, like,
Yeah.
yeah, for
Mhm.
sure.
That was advice that I really liked. Do you have writing advice that you were given maybe early on in the process that you really love, or advice you might pass on to a new writer?
I'm gonna say don't write every day because sometimes that just doesn't happen, especially like as a mom. But for
Right.
me, writing, I mean, the best advice I've been given is to not give up on yourself. Be gentle with yourself. Don't like if you have to force it, don't do it. Like that's
Mm.
just it's going to kill any creativity or idea you have. And for me, trying to force myself to like hit a certain word count or anything when I'm just like not feeling it or I'm in a bad mood or I've been sick or something like it's just nope, just no. So be gentle on yourself your entire writing career. Like good pieces of art, whether that's painting, writing, books, takes time. So
Mm. Mhm.
love yourself and don't force it. Force it. Just don't.
I love that. That's really good
Right.
advice.
We are allowed to take a day off every now and then.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I've had to learn that, but like
Right, right.
definitely take that time.
Mhm.
So where do you usually find your inspiration?
Man,
I
that's
know, heavy
hard.
hitter.
It's like inspiration for me comes from so many different places. A lot of it comes from dreams I'll have, like the face shifters that kind of like stemmed from a dream I had and real life experiences. But I can get ideas just like from songs or sometimes like clips on commercials and stuff, like some of the most random things, or even like walking like to the park or something. This I'll see something like some family on the playground or something doing something. I'm like, you know what, that would be a really good idea to add to a story, like something like that, or just people watching in general. That just because there's a lot of random things you can see when you people watch. It just
Oh,
my
absolutely.
inspiration comes from everywhere. So, but I will say, music will make me stop and be like, "Oh, that's the perfect scene. I need to do that," and just like I need to
Mhm.
find something to write it down.
Yes.
Yeah, I love writing new music
It
for
gets you in
sure.
that creative zone, and then your
Oh,
mind just starts popping.
yes. It's just like, okay, let's just keep going. Like, oh.
Right, right. Yeah, no, I love writing to music because it kind of like it distracts that like distractible part of my mind so that I
Mhm.
can focus on the words of the story that's coming
Yes.
out. Yeah.
And especially like you get I my favorite is having upbeat songs playing while I'm writing like action scenes out.
Mhm.
That is a lot of
Right.
fun because I'm like, oh yeah, like this is okay, like so much fun.
Right. Yeah, it pumps you up and then therefore
Yes.
it like
It
energizes you for the story. Yeah,
it
for sure.
absolutely puts you there for
Oh yeah.
sure. Right. So is like writer's block ever an issue for you?
Oh yes.
How do
So
you get
I like towards the beginning of like my writer's journey, I got writer's block more often just because I was in like a terrible mood. I was kind of
Mhm.
depressed feeling and stuff. And when I'm down like that, I can't really make anything work. But now to combat like when I get stuck on something, I'll step away and try to do something else creative related. Like I'll go make graphics or edit like chats, go color with my son, craft with him, or just get outside and away from anything like digital for a little bit. And it just kind of helps me get back to where I can work on things, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
Yeah, a break is sometimes more helpful than trying to slog through a block for sure.
and you
Mhm.
still get that boost because you are still being productive. You are still taking care of your business. And,
Mhm.
because being an author is so much more than just writing. There's
Yes.
Right.
so much more. So I love that answer of just don't force it and let it, you know, go somewhere else for a while. That's great.
Yes. Step away.
And sometimes having like doing something like the dishes or laundry can help too because your mind's kind of working on a solution while your hands are busy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yes. even though I don't like to do it, I still like it's one of those things you have to do as mom. But it does help,
I know. Yeah.
give you a break, or like let you, just doing repetitive laundry folding will let you process some of your thoughts. So
yeah, dishes are the worst. I don't recommend them for anyone, but like if you have to do them and you're stuck, sometimes you can work through a solution. Yeah.
It's funny that you brought up laundry, because I absolutely do that. I'll have my laptop open to me like while I'm doing laundry, and I'll stop and write a little bit and then do some laundry while I work out the next part, and then stop and write a little bit. My husband's like, "What are you doing? Do one or the other." I'm like, nope, I have to do both. Like,
yeah, for sure.
All right. So what's been the biggest help to you in your writing journey?
Ooh, the biggest help. Oh my gosh, that's a really hard question.
Okay.
Because there's been so many different things that have helped, but really the biggest help is probably like connecting with other authors. Whether that be through like interview podcast chats like this, or even like through Go Indie Now. Knowing that there's other authors out there and you can bounce tips, ideas, or just like be like, hey, like, what do you think about this? Like having them to chat with about different topics, ideas, or even just like, hey, do you have experience with like writing a press release or something like that? Like we're all working together to boost each other up. At least that's the good communities. If you're not one of those people, just kick rocks. But like we're here to like help each other. And like when you actually get involved with people that are like that, you can learn so much from each other and like grow. And that's been the biggest thing that's helped me, is interacting with other authors.
Absolutely. That's 100% true. I think it's a common answer too for a lot of people when we ask some of the same questions to everyone, because it's so interesting to get like the different answers from people and see different perspectives. But a lot of people do say like networking or finding your people among other authors has been the biggest help for a lot of people. So another tough question I love asking. What is your favorite book, or who is your favorite author and why?
So I'm definitely not one to pick favorite authors, because a lot of times, actually really, some that used to be my favorite authors are not very nice people anymore.
Yes.
So, but my all-time favorite book series now is not because of who the author is, but because it's a good series. It was Sarah J. Maas's kind of like her first venture into writing, the Throne of Glass series. That is my all-time favorite. I don't even know how many times I've read / listened to it, because I have them all in like physical, audio, and digital. So,
right. You have a variety of ways.
I made myself sick like reading those, especially the very last one. I almost pulled an all-nighter. I think I was pregnant? I may have been pregnant when that book came out. I don't remember. But like I couldn't put it down. And yeah, that whole series is my absolute favorite.
All right. And we talked about writing advice you really love. What's writing advice you really hate?
The writing advice I really hate is to write every day. Literally.
You mentioned that
one a few times. Right. It's, for some people it works. Like you can do it, but like for me, it doesn't happen. Like if I sit down, it never fails. Like Nano, I'm like, yes, I'm going to write every day. And it just goes off the rails. And part of that is just life kind of likes to intervene. My son got sick, or I'll get sick, or we've just got a bunch of stuff going on, extracurricular activities. So writing every day does not happen. But you can also play with those ideas in your head and stuff like that. That will help your story.
Right.
Yeah.
Writing doesn't always look like writing. Yeah. I know some people who that advice works really well for, but I feel for like when you're neurodivergent or, neurospicy, people like to say, then that becomes a lot harder, because you have genuine struggles that it's like sometimes you can't make it to the couch, like let alone writing, or
people schedule might not exist for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, or it goes way off the rails.
You're right. And if you're anything like me, then you'll beat yourself up enough that like having having that goal can actually hurt more than it can help for some people.
Yes.
So yeah, that is also advice I don't love personally, just because of struggles. But yeah.
And I'm counting, 7 titles behind you and another to be released in January?
So I'm trying to think that because it doesn't have all of my books there. I was like, this
How
is
many
just
books have you written then?
I'm trying to think. So I want to say it's like 8 or 9, but that's not including like the short stories. So there are a couple of short stories that have made it into anthologies, and then like the full novels I've written have got there's the Phase Shifters is 4, Black Flames, Blue Flames, Breaking Traditions is 7. I'm missing one. There's a bunch of short stories and anthologies too, though. Let's just call it there. So
I suppose my point is that you've been writing for 5, 6-ish years, and you're obviously doing just fine, not writing every day.
And really, I didn't publish anything till my son was about 2-ish, I think. It was like right at the beginning of the pandemic was when I first published something like indie, and it just kind of went from there. So
so you've been doing just fine.
I have to remind myself, like, hey, I'm not sucking at this. I'm not failing. Like, I have a graph out there. I just almost need like that visual reminder every now and then, because I do kind of like dog myself because I'm like, oh, I'm not getting this done fast enough. Oh, I need to write more. But in reality, like, I'm doing okay. So
and some authors only write one book their whole life. You know what I mean? Like there's no yardstick, but whatever your goal is to measure yourself against.
It's not a quantity, it's not a race. It's about telling the stories that you want to tell, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, we do want to give you an opportunity to tell us where we can find you online, and you can tell us about your book release.
Awesome. So the easiest way to find me is to visit my website, www.thechaptergoddess.com. I have links to all of my social media. There is a way to subscribe to my newsletter and my blog. My newsletter literally is the best way to keep up with me, though. It goes out once a week. And like, I share bits of like what's going on with my life in my newsletter more than I do in like my Facebook group, which is also like the second best way. And that's just the chapter, Madilynn Dale's reader group, the Chapter Goddess. Maybe switch backwards. Links on my website for that too. But that's the best way to find me. As I mentioned earlier in the show, Blue Flames, the side, is coming out on January 31st. It will be live in paperback and digital format wide. It is one of the few I have dropping this year. There is an anthology that I have a story in that I don't have the exact date, but the publisher, it's indie, kind of like almost like a hybrid kind of published thing. She says it should be out in February, the end of February at least, and that's called Deals in Blood. I'm also going to be, I'll have already been to Colorado by the time you guys hear this, but I'll be at Multiverse in Atlanta, Georgia this fall, if you guys want to check me out there. And really, that's like all I have set in stone for this year. I am going to finish. Oh gosh, I can't even lean that way. There's a book directly behind me. There we go, right here. That you can't see the bottom of it, but that's titled Hooked. And it's kind of a different retelling of like Captain Hook's story. It's going to be dropping probably, so I'm working on edits right now, March-ish, March, April. Okay. So yeah, I think that's all I've got for sure coming out right now that I have somewhat on a timeline. So I'm terrible with timelines. But
no, it sounds like you've been very busy, and we're super excited to see more coming out from you.
Also, check me out on Go Indie Now stuff because I'm there a lot. So
we love Go Indie Now, and Joe. Joe's the best. Well, thanks so much for being on our show, and thanks so much for listening along. You can join us next time when we welcome our next guest. And remember, there's always more than one way up the mountain. and to be on our show, or if you have any questions, comments for us, you can find us on social media at The Talnut Show or email us at thetellnutshow@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and liking. We appreciate all the support. Julia J.K. Allen is an author, editor, and coach and can be found at hijinksrudder.com.
Kirsha Fox is an author, avid reader, gamer, and mother to 4, and you can find her at kirshafox.com. Thanks and see you next time.